Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So we are picking up with Genesis chapter 32. And we'll see how far we get today. There's a lot that's going on here. You guys doing all right? Yeah, you ready? The rain's not keeping you down? No? Okay, good. Well, excellent. Before we start, just so you guys know, a little update on other things that are going on. We are, as of this morning, still set to close on the Timberlane site Friday afternoon. So God be praised for that. Things are moving along. So that it's a long time coming. But we will be glad to have that accomplished. So when we do, we'll send out a message to the congregation just to let everybody know confirmation on that. And then when we get closer to the point where we're going to have a dedication service or something to that effect, we'll let you know all those details too. So let's open this morning with prayer. God of grace, we thank you that you are faithful with your people even when we go in errant ways. We thank you for how you watched over your servant, Jacob, how you continued to provide for him and his family, and that through him and through his line, you blessed of the world through the Messiah, your son, Jesus. Guide us in his name today. Amen. Okay, so we got Jacob, right? The trickster. He's been away from his home, from his father Isaac, from his brother, and everybody there for a good long while. How long? Do you guys remember? How long has he been out in like Paddan Aram and Haran up there in the north with his uncle? 20 years. So about 20 years. And so now after that 20 years, he's left. He's heading back down to the land of Canaan, that land of the promise. So let's pick up with chapter 32. So Jacob went on his way. So leaving from Laban, his uncle, Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." So he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Now, there's not much else that's said about this. But again, we have Jacob having this divine encounter. So now that he is back on his way back to the land of promise, he sees this is God's camp. And there's a different word for camp as opposed to like house, right? Because before, when he had that dream as he was leaving Canaan, as he was leaving from his father's house, he had that vision of what was it? The stairway, right? The stairway or the ladder, right? And said, this is the house of God, Beth-El, right? But this is different. So this is the camp. This is God's camp. So God, in this sense, we see is God is journeying with him. So God's angels are with him. And the name of in Hebrew there is two camps. So you got Jacob's camp, God's camp, and kind of this sense of being in motion. So continuing with verse 3. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, instructing them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male servants, and female servants. I have sent to tell my lord, in order that I may find favor in your sight." So what's the tone of Jacob's message to his brother here? He's coming humbly. So another good word is deferential, right? Because what was the blessing that was given to Jacob? Do you guys remember that? Well, the land, everything, you're going to be the one who's in charge, and everybody else is going to serve you. So Jacob is now coming home, coming back to his brother. What was the reason that he left again? A little foggy on that. His brother wanted to kill him. Right? So 20 years ago, he left home, left everything behind, because his brother wanted to kill him. And now at this point, he's coming back, and he's taking this very deferential tone here. Your servant Jacob, my lord Esau, your servant Jacob, things like that. Messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you, and there are 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. Why? That's all right. How many people did Abraham take to go pursue the people that had captured Lot? You remember that? We talked about that several weeks back. He got those people in like the coalition to fight like the 4 kings or 5 kings or whatever it was. Like 300 some. And Esau's got 400 guys coming out to greet his brother. So yeah, Jacob is greatly afraid and distressed. So he divided the people who are with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 camps. Again, we have this thing of the 2 camps, right? So you had God's camp, Jacob's camp, now 2 camps. There's this division there. Thinking if Esau comes to the one camp and attacks it, then the camp that is left will escape. And Jacob said, okay, now Jacob comes to God in prayer. O God of my father Abraham, O God of my father Isaac, O Lord, who said to me, return to your country and to your kindred that I may do you good. I am not worthy of the least of all the deeds of steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, that he may come and attack me, the mothers with the children. But you said, I will surely do you good, and make your offspring as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So Jacob makes this plea to God to deliver him from his brother, to deliver him from vengeance, for God to be faithful, to continue to be faithful to his promise, to establish Jacob, and to do great things through him, through his family. Okay, so Jacob stayed there that night, and from what he had, he took with him, he took a present for his brother Esau, 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their calves, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, 10 male donkeys. These he handed over to his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, pass on ahead of me and put a space between drove and drove. So you imagine there's going to be this caravan, right, of all these different kinds of animals, and a servant kind of leading them, and a space, then the next, and the space, the next. So this big procession. He instructed the first servant, when my brother Esau meets you and asks you, to whom do you belong? Where are you going? And who are these that are ahead of you? Then you shall say, they belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present sent to my lord Esau. And moreover, he is behind us. He likewise instructed the second and the third and all who followed the droves. You shall say the same thing to Esau when you find them, and you shall say, moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he thought, I may appease him with the present that goes ahead of me, and afterwards I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present passed on ahead of him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. So what's Jacob doing? He's greasing the gears, right? These peace offerings. So sending all these flocks, and imagine he's got a lot. If this is a portion of what he's sending ahead of him, so that he's seeking to curry his brother's favor.
Would he have to have gone through all this stuff, dividing his camp and everything, having seen God's angels in his camp?
Should he have had to have gone through it? No. But yeah, if God says he's with you and the angels are there, like, okay, well, that's good. But again, we see the people kind of relying on their human, like, okay, what can I do to make this thing happen? So there's a theme that's been running through this, right? Okay, so we got all that. Now, this is probably one of the better known things here. That same night, after Jacob has sent ahead these flocks and this gift to go get to his brother, he arose and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream and everything else that he had, and Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched his hip socket, and Jacob's hip was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the day is broken." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and you have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." So that's different, right? All of a sudden, we have this man appearing on the scene and then wrestling with Jacob for the rest of the night. And so we're like, okay, well, what's that about? It doesn't say anything else, right? But what is Jacob's reaction to all this? Who does he understand this is? This is God, right? And, from our other things that we've seen, it's possible this is like the pre-incarnate Christ, God the Son, there you're interacting with his people, present with his people. And then there's this wrestling that goes on. But Jacob continues to persevere. He's not going to give up, right? And what happens as dawn is coming? Well, so this man, right, touches Jacob's hip and puts his socket out of joint, right? So causing him to a significant probably pain and or discomfort, right? Said, "Let me go." Jacob said, "I'm not going to let you go unless you bless me," because he's like, well, if this is God, because he'd seen the angels before, right, asking for this blessing. And then we have here this changing of Jacob's name. So God working again, giving somebody a different name and a name with a meaning. So what did Jacob mean? He like the trickster, right? So he grabs by the heel. So the trickster, and now it's being changed to Yisrael. Yisrael wrestles with God, or struggles with God. So you've got this one, strives, struggles, wrestles with God. So he now has this new name, which then is going to be passed down through his children. So it is now going to be, well, it will be the name of this nation, the children of Israel. So we got this. There's this blessing. And then Jacob, at this end, in verse 30, right, he called the name of the place Peniel, face of God, because I've seen God face to face. My life has been delivered. So Jacob understands that he has had this divine encounter, that he's made it through, again, by God's mercy. So the son, any questions on all that stuff that was in there? Okay. The sun rose upon him as he passed Penuel. Penuel is an alternate spelling of Peniel, same place. Limping because of his hip. So God has given him, I don't know if this is going to be a permanent thing, could be, or just as a temporary thing, but his hip out of joint. Therefore, to this day, the people of Israel do not eat the sinew of the thigh that is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip on the sinew of the thigh. So Jacob now heading across to join up with the rest of his family. And Jacob, chapter 33, Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming, and 400 men with him. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two female servants, and he put the servants with their children in front, then Leah with her children, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. Why did he do that? Yeah, so there's a ranking that's going on here. He's putting his favorites at the far back, as far away from the perceived danger as he can. So there's that. And he himself went on before them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. So what's going to happen? But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Unexpected? Yeah. When Esau lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children, he said, "Who are these with you?" Jacob said, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant." And again, listen to the way that Jacob is talking with his brother, right? Your servant. The servants drew near, they and their children, and they bowed down. Leah likewise and her children drew near and bowed down. And last Joseph and Rachel drew near, and they bowed down. Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company that I met?" And Jacob answered, "To find favor in the sight of my Lord." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." Jacob said, "No, please, if I have found favor in your sight, then accept my present from my hand. For I have seen your face, which is like seeing the face of God. And you have accepted me. Please accept my blessing that is brought to you because God has dealt graciously with me and because I have enough." Thus he urged him, and he took it. So, anything odd there? Seeing Esau's face is like seeing the face of God. So, a couple things. One, we don't know if maybe the man wrestling with Jacob had the appearance of Esau, but probably more likely is that he is seeing Esau's face the same way he saw God's face, and that he has made it through and graciously lived. So he's seen the face of God. God has had mercy. He's seen his brother Esau. Esau is having mercy. And so there is a reconciliation that's happening there. And he continues to urge his brother to accept the gift that he has sent. And Esau relents. Esau does accept the gift. So verse 12, then Esau said, "Let us journey on our way, and I will go ahead of you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are frail, and that the nursing flocks and herds are a care to me. If they are driven hard for one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord pass on ahead of his servant, and I will lead on slowly at the pace of the livestock that are ahead of me, at the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir." So Jacob, right, has just been treated mercifully by his brother. But what's he not so keen on doing? Going back to his brother's territory. He's still, like here's this gift. You go on ahead. We'll take it at our own pace until we get there. So he's still kind of, all right, holding back a little bit here. So Esau said, "Let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." Right? So some of these 400 men that I've got. But he said, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built himself a house and made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the name of the place is called Succoth, which is booths or tents. So Jacob does not beeline for Seir where his brother's at, but he goes to the territory of his father, or closer to that, Succoth. So he goes there and then kind of makes camp, sets down some roots. So he is not too far away from where he's at, but kind of has that place to kind of rest and recoup. And Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, on his way from Padan Aram, and he camped before the city. And from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, he bought 400 pieces of money, the piece of land on which he'd pitched his tent. There he erected an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. So Jacob is now landed. Questions or thoughts when we got to everything that has happened here? Yeah. Well, no, he goes ahead of them. He goes ahead of the women. He lines them up, but he still goes ahead of everybody. Yeah, so he does line them up in his ranking so that Rebecca and Joseph are in the far back, but he goes in front of everybody else to meet Esau. That's where he's bowing the 7 times on the ground, coming up to them, and then his brother's like, "Who's everybody behind you here?" And then he introduces them, like, here's the servants, here's Leah, here's Rachel, and the children, like that. Mm-hmm. Benjamin hasn't been born yet. Yeah, so there's a reason he hasn't been mentioned yet. Yeah. Yeah, Benjamin is born once they're back in the land, back in Canaan. But that's okay. Any other questions, thoughts? Yeah. Right, because this is not Esau's land. Esau's territory is to the east, on the other side of the Jordan, kind of in southeast of everything. So he's buying the land that he buys, and it says for 100 pieces of money. We don't know what the unit that is referenced here. We don't have another thing to kind of indicate what that is. It's not like some of the other currencies we see later, but he buys it from the people that are in the land who are going to be figuring prominently in the very near future here. But so he buys, again, we have people buying land, and so they're kind of setting down those roots. Because, yeah, that's interesting enough. He hasn't gone to settle where his brother's at. There's still a distance between them, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because they both have a number of crops and flocks and all those things, and so they have their territory. And El Elohe Israel, God, the God of Israel, is the name of the place that the altar that Jacob sets up. Okay. You guys ready for the next part? All right. Buckle your seatbelts. Chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne Jacob, went out to see the women of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, remember we just heard about them, the prince of the land, saw her, he seized her and lay with her and humiliated her. And his soul was drawn to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to her father, to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this girl for my wife." So what's happened here? The prince, right, of the land, right, has taken Dinah, Jacob's daughter, and raped her. And he's apparently, wanting her to be his wife. And so it says these things like spoke tenderly to her. So we don't know what's going on in his head, but this is not God pleasing. And there's going to be consequences. Spoiler alert. So this thing has happened, and Shechem goes to his father and wants the bride. So go get this taken care of. Okay. What happens next? Verse 5. Now Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Dinah. He'd heard about what Shechem had done. But his sons were with his livestock in the field, so Jacob held his peace until they came. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. The sons of Jacob had come in from the field as soon as they heard of it, and the men were indignant and very angry, because he had done an outrageous thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, for such a thing must not be done. So what's happened? The boys have come back. They heard what happened to their sister, and they're angry. They're riled up because this heinous thing has happened. So, but Hamor spoke to them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him to be his wife. Make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. You shall dwell with us, and the land shall be open to you. Dwell and trade in it, and get property in it." Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me I will give. Ask for me as great a bride price, and give you your will, and gift as you will, and I will give whatever you say to me. Only give me the young woman to be my wife." So Hamor has come and said this, let's go ahead and have marriages. Let's have this kind of relationship between us so that we can all get along here. And then Shechem, the son, comes up and tries to prevail on Jacob and Dinah's brothers as well. Whatever you want, let her be my wife. Okay. So that's the scene. How's it going to play out? The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully, because he had defiled their sister Dinah. Does it sound familiar? Like father, like sons. This probably isn't going to be good here, right? They said to them, "We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for he would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition will we agree with you, that you will become as we are, by every male among you being circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to ourselves, and we will dwell with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and we will be gone." Okay, so what do they say? You have to be circumcised for us to be in this kind of relationship that you're asking for, to be in agreement and all get along. So, Hamor and Shechem, what's their reaction going to be? Like, no, forget it? No. Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem. And the young man did not delay to do the thing, because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. So he's like, okay, I'm on board, because she means that much to me, he thinks. I'm willing to do this. Now, he was the most honored of all his father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, "These men are at peace with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men agree to dwell with us, to become one people, when every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised. Will not their livestock, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Only let us agree with them, and they will dwell with us." And all who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of the city. So they must have been pretty influential. And they must have really wanted, so Jacob's prosperity, right, and all these flocks and everything that he has with him, is like, oh yeah, well no, we can share in that, and that'd be great. So we'll go ahead and do this. And so they all agree. So there's a lot of persuasion that's going on here. And that happens. Now, verse 25. On the third day, when they were sore, two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and came against the city while it felt secure and killed all the males. They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went away. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks and their herds, their donkeys, and whatever was in the city and in the field. all their wealth, all their little ones, and all their wives, all that was in the houses, they captured and plundered. So, shooting fish in a barrel, pretty much. So they weren't going to be facing the opposition after all the men of the city had been circumcised. They were in no position to put up a fight. So this was their plan. So come in and then wipe them out. So what have they done? Well, it was revenge for sure, but what did God give the sign of circumcision to be? A sign of the covenant. A sign of God's faithfulness. So it's not meant to be a sign. One, it wasn't meant to be a sign of the other people like having like an alliance with them. That's not what it was meant for. And it definitely wasn't meant for Jacob's family to be using it as a tool for deceitfulness and trickery. So they've done this. Okay, so now, verse 30. Well, actually, any questions at this point? This doesn't come up so much in the readings in the church service, does it? So verse 30, Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me stink to the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. My numbers are few, and if they gather themselves against me and attack me, I shall be destroyed, both I and my household." So what's Jacob's concern? Well, himself, well, his family, right? That they've come in and then they've done this thing and just destroyed this city and raided it. How's that going to look to the neighbors? Not great. What if they come and wipe us out? What if there's retaliation? So that's his concern. But Simeon and Levi said, "Should he treat our sister like a prostitute?" All right, so all this has happened here. It's not looking good for Jacob and his family as they come into this land and set down roots, and all of a sudden, okay, there's this hubbub, putting it mildly, and then who knows what's going to happen next. So chapter 35. God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there." What's Bethel? Where Jacob had the vision of the stairway, of the ladder, right? He set up the altar and said, "This is the house of God, Bethel." So rise, go to Bethel, dwell there. Make an altar there to the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau. The dream that we heard there. So Jacob said to his household and all who was with him, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you and purify yourselves and change your garments. Let us arise and go up to Bethel so that I might make there an altar to the God who answers me in the day of my distress and who has been with me wherever I have gone." So they gave to Jacob all the foreign gods that they had and the rings that were in their ears. Jacob hid them underneath the terebinth tree that was near Shechem. So whether it was stuff like Rachel and Leah brought with them, because we had Rachel stealing the household gods, right, of her father, whether it was things that they took from the plunder that they got from the people that they massacred, all those things, take those things. So Jacob takes them and buries them, hides them away, so they don't try to come back for them. All right, now, take a look at this. As they journeyed, so they're heading to Bethel, a terror from God fell upon the cities that were around them, so that they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. God's provision. So that the people of the land, they aren't going to mess with them. Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And there he built an altar and called the place El Bethel, so God of Bethel, because their God, had revealed himself to him when he fled his brother. And Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried under an oak below Bethel. So he called its name Allon Bakuth. God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Paddan Aram and blessed him. And God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. No longer shall your name be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name." So he called his name Israel. And God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you. Kings shall come from your own body. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and I will give the land to your offspring after you." Then God went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him, and Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone. He poured out a drink offering on it and poured oil on it. So Jacob called the name of the place where God had spoken with him Bethel. So, repetition. When did this first happen? This dedication of the pillar and whatnot at Bethel? As Jacob was heading out. And now, this repetition is happening when? He's coming back. So he's settling. And God is reiterating the promise. So God's saying, all right, this is the promise, this is the blessing. What's your new name? Israel. Wrestles with God, struggles with God, strives with God, right? And the blessing that was given to Abraham, that was given to your father Isaac, is now on you and your family. Because what is Genesis again? It's showing us the family line, right? Our family line, our history. So we look at this and, okay, God's repetition of the promise, and this is everything that's happening. Jacob reaffirming this is the place where God has spoken to him. This is the house of God, where he's interacting with God, Bethel. Okay. Questions so far? Anything at this point? Okay. Then they journeyed from Bethel. When they were still some distance from Ephrath, Rachel went into labor, and she had a hard labor. And when her labor was at its hardest, the midwife said to her, "Do not fear, for you have another son." And as her soul was departing, for she was dying, she called his name Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. So Ben-Oni can be either son of sorrow or son of my strength. So two possible meanings for that. So there's ambiguity with it. Benjamin, on the other hand, or Benjamin, son of my right hand, like son of my strength. So Israel, right, he heard the name that his beloved wife gave to their son with its ambiguity, and he's like, I'm going to settle the ambiguity. His name is Benjamin, son of my right hand, son of my strength. So Rachel died, and she was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. That place might come up again at some point. And Jacob set up a pillar over her tomb. It is the pillar of Rachel's tomb, which is there to this day. Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder. While Israel lived in that land, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard of it. Okay. I think there might be some consequences for that. All right, so whether it was, Reuben just kind of being a thing of a passion kind of thing here, or asserting some kind of dominance or something like that, we don't know, but his dad hears about it. Now, the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah: Reuben, Jacob's firstborn; Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. The sons of Rachel: Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant: Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant: Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Paddan Aram. Now, for those that were paying attention, anything seem odd about that list and that description? Now, Gary's going to get this one. What was it? Well, so Jacob, right, fathered them, but where? They said all in Padanaram, but they were not. So that's Benjamin is kind of thrown in there at the end. So he is not born there. He's born in Canaan. He's born not all that far from Bethlehem. So Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, or Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. So Isaac was still alive when he gets back. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years, and Isaac breathed his last. And he died and was gathered to his people, old and full of days. And his sons, Esau and Jacob, buried him. So Isaac buried by his sons. Who was Abraham buried by? His sons Isaac and Ishmael. So again, the sons come together and bury the father in the same place, that place where Sarah had first been buried, that land that Abraham had bought. Okay. Now we have a generational interlude here. Any questions before we move on to that? Okay, cool. All right, well, I cannot guarantee the pronunciation on some of these names, but they'll sound right. How's that? That work? Okay. Chapter 36. These are the generations of Esau, that is Edom. So remember, he had the two names, right? Esau, Edom. Esau took his wives from the Canaanites. Remember that, because it displeased his father and his mother. Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Oholibah, daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite. And Basmath, Ishmael's daughter, the sister of Nebaioth. Right, because he had the two wives first. And they say, oh, well, my father doesn't want a wife from the Canaanites. I'm going to find one from the family. So he goes to Ishmael's family, has that wife there. And Adah bore to Esau Eliphaz, Basmath bore Ruel, and Aholibath bore Yeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau who were born to him in the land of Canaan. Then Esau took his wives, his sons, his daughters, and all the members of his household, his livestock, all his beasts, all his property he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and he went into a land away from his brother Jacob, for their possessions were too great for them to dwell together. The land of their sojournings could not support them because of their livestock. So Esau settled in the hill country of Seir. Esau is Edom. Just again, as a reminder, right? These are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons. Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau. Ruel, the son of Basmath, the wife of Esau. The sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. Timnah was a concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bore Alamech, right, to Eliphaz. You guys keeping track of all this? We'd like a chart, maybe. There probably are charts that you can pull up. We'll talk about why this is all here in just a minute. The sons of Ruel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the sons of Bathmath, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Aholibath, the daughter of Anah and daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. She bore to Esau Jehush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chiefs of the sons of Esau. The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn of Esau. The chiefs Teman, Olmar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. These are the chiefs of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Adah. These are the sons of Ruel, Esau's son. The chiefs Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the chiefs of Ruel in the land of Edom. These are the sons of Basmath, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Aholibath, Esau's wife. The chiefs Jehush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chiefs born of Aholibath, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, that is, Edom, and these are their chiefs. These are the sons of Seir, the Horite, the inhabitants of the land. Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These are the chiefs of the Horites, son of Seir, in the land of Edom. The sons of Lotan were Hori and Heman. Lotan's sister was Timnah. These are the sons of Shobal, Alvan, Manahath, Abba, Shepto, and Onam. These are the sons of Zibeon, Ahiah and Anna. He is the Anna who found the hot springs in the wilderness as he pastured the donkeys of Zibeon his father. These are the children of Anna. Dishon and Aholvath, daughter of Anna. These are the sons of Dishon. Hemdan, Eshban, Erthron, and Sharon. These are the sons of Ezer, Bilhan, Zavan, and Achan. These are the sons of Dishon, Uz, and Aran. These are the chiefs of the Horites, the chiefs Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These are the chiefs of the Horites, chief by chief in the land of Seir. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the Israelites. Bela the son of Beor reigned in Edom, the name of his city being Deneba. Bela died, and Jobab the son of Zerah of Bozrah reigned in his place. Jobab died, and Husham in the land of the Temanites reigned in his place. Husham died, and Hadad son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, reigned in his place, the name of his city being Avith. Hadad died, and Samlah of Maskra reigned in his place. Samlah died, and Shaul of Rehoboth on the Euphrates reigned in his place. Shaul died, and Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, reigned in his place. Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, died, and Hadad reigned in his place, the name of his city being Pau. His wife's name was Mehabalath, daughter of Matred, daughter of Mezhab. These are the names of the chiefs of Esau according to their clans and their dwelling places by their names. The chiefs Timnah, Alva, Jethath, Aholbath, Ena, Pinan, Kenaz, Timon, Mizbar, Magdiel, and Uram. These are the chiefs of Edom, that is Esau, the father of Edom, according to their dwelling places in the land of their possession. Okay. There will not be a repeat performance. Yeah, that's right. There will be a quiz. Why did we have all these names? Why do we have this record and these genealogies? What's that? It does serve a purpose. What was God's promise? We have many nations. We have princes and kings, right, of the peoples being born even through Esau, that is, Edom. And the Edomites, they're not going away. We're going to keep hearing about them later on. So we have this history of this people and how God is still keeping his covenant, keeping faithfulness, even if it's not the line of the promise. God is still blessing and providing for these other people. And then in the future, when there's going to be some conflict coming up later down the line, it's like, no, these people are all related. We'll see that. Yeah. No, we do not have to study these. So, yeah, no, that I'm sure there might be some people that are doing that and doing some more deep dives on this stuff, but thankfully, no, we don't have to go into all that. There is no quiz on the names of Edom, unless there's like a particularly wicked professor or something like that. So not necessarily, because again, it is not that, okay, all these things happen before the next things happen. It's more like, okay, here we're going to record this, and this happens over generations. So if you're looking at each generation roughly figured as like 40 years or so, and we've got a good few hundred years that are being recorded here with the different children being born. So some were born before Esau left, right, and others once he settled in that new area of Seir. Then you have the subsequent children being born to him and his wives, and then their kids having more kids and all that. Well, that's God has promised, like there will be as many as the sands on the seashore kind of thing, right? It's like, well, okay, and it's not just directly through Jacob, right, or Israel, right? That's Abraham's descendants, because God made a promise to Ishmael as well, right, or to Hagar, that Ishmael was going to be provided for, and that There's going to be people coming from him. There's going to be people coming from Esau. So even though they're not the siblings that are the line is coming through, God is still providing. And there's lots of people coming from this family. Okay, yeah, Warren. Who knows? That is a fantastic question. Some of these things are in there as a reference, and Warren was at, in case you guys didn't hear, back over in verse 24. This Anna is the one who found hot springs in the wilderness as he pastured the donkeys of Zibeon, his father. Just kind of a neat little historically grounded record, so it kind of connects to like, oh yeah, you probably heard of this guy. Well, he's related to this guy. Yeah, so there's, as far as I know, there is no additional biblical record or significance for that. We have some other things later on too, some in the New Testament where you have a connection of, okay, here's this guy's name, which might not mean anything to us, but for people in the early church, they're probably, oh yeah, we know so-and-so, and he's related to this person, that kind of thing. So that connection. But maybe there's some nice hot springs in the land of Seir that you could go and visit. I'm sure there's probably a tourist opportunity surrounding that. Somebody can do some research on that and let us know next time when we get together. Okay, all right. Any other questions or things at this point? So we had that genealogical interlude with Esau's family. So I think at this point we'll go ahead and stop for today, because the next chapter, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in there that's going to be significant for what's going on later. And rather than trying to dive into it and getting cut off, we'll just pick back up. So sound good? Okay. Now, question, do you guys want to have class during Holy Week? That's not next week, that's the following week. Okay. There's one or two other things going on that week. So we will have, so if anybody was interested, so we can certainly do that. The 11 o'clock service during Holy Week will be kind of our flashback to Palm Sunday weekend. So reading, and so it's not a Holy Week service per se of like a special service there, but we'll connect back to Sunday the Passion. Okay? So be it. Very good. We'll see you guys next week.